Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're planning on releasing some of your music. You've spent close to a year working on it and making it the best that it can be. But you get cold feet at the last minute because something isn't perfect. You go back to the project again and again to revise tiny details, re-record, remix, remaster, and before you know it, you're releasing 3-year-old material that you're absolutely sick of, because this is the 5th time that you've gotten to this point. This isn't a perfectionist problem. This is a self-confidence problem.
You're doubting yourself.
Metal isn't really the type of music that you get into when your life is perfect and you have great self-esteem, right? Before we get too deep, I want to point out that I'm not an expert on this. I'm not a self-help guru or a psychologist. I'm just someone who's been dealing with self-confidence issues for close to 40 years now. And while I think it'll always be a part of me, I've recently gained some perspective on things, and I feel like examining the issue in certain ways might help other people with similar struggles. You could probably tell I'm reading a fucking script.
I don't have a confidence issue. My perfectionism just sometimes gets in the way.
Are you sure about that? Often we confuse self-doubt with perfectionism. What sometimes feels like hard work or high standards is really just an elaborate form of avoidance. We're avoiding putting our work on display because we fear rejection. This was me most of my life. I've managed to put work out into the world, sure, but usually only after aligning myself with a team who could help shore up my confidence issues and help shoulder the responsibility for the music. I realize it sounds stupid actually saying it out loud, but I'd venture to say that this topic is resonating pretty deeply with some of you, and that's why I'm making this video.
Who are you talking to? Isn't self-awareness a good thing?
Self-awareness is undoubtedly a good thing as long as it doesn't hold us back much. I'd much rather be underconfident and over-deliver on expectations than be some cocky asshole who is overconfident and completely fails to show up. We've all seen that kind of behavior before, and it's ugly as fuck. But this message isn't for cocky assholes. Any cocky assholes who may have accidentally clicked on this bounced out a long time ago. This message is for those of us who constantly compare ourselves to others on a higher level and then criticize ourselves for not meeting our own unrealistic expectations.
Of course we can't meet those expectations because they've gradually morphed over time into something completely unfair.
So let's take a look at some of the ways that self-doubt holds us back. Missed opportunities. My lack of self-confidence has caused me to miss out on countless opportunities in my life, most of which I'll never know that I missed. Although I've had some amazing opportunities, they usually came about because someone else with better social skills advocated for me. I've never been one to assert myself or put myself in challenging situations where I could truly shine. Waiting until you think you're good enough for something often means never. We might be constantly improving, but our standards rise in pace with our ability, so sometimes being good enough is a moving target. Finish your work now while it's relevant to you. 3. Refusing to seek help. Self-doubt can sometimes make it difficult to ask for help with things, meaning we shoulder more of the burden and things take much longer to get done. 4. Undermining your own financial well-being. This is a super common problem for creative freelancers who are often tempted to undercharge for our services because we have a negatively skewed perception of our self-worth. I still struggle with this one quite a bit. A lack of self-confidence is expensive to maintain when viewed this way. I started this channel partly because I realized that my lack of self-confidence was literally costing me money. I needed to start putting myself out there in order to show people that I exist and that I can do what I do. And that meant finally addressing the confidence issue. I'm still struggling with it, but look, I'm in front of a camera on a video that is publicly available. Big wins. The funny thing is, I should actually be pretty confident about my skills if I view everything on paper. I've been doing music production for a pretty long time, and I've gotten good at some things because of the time I invested over the years. The problem is that I have some bad habits that keep kneecapping my self-confidence. Here are a few of the pitfalls that I often find myself falling into. Maybe they sound familiar. Comparison to others. I have a nasty habit of comparing myself to people who are way better than I am. But when this happens, we have to ask ourselves, what are our actual goals? Are we comparing ourselves to people who have completely different goals than we do? For example, I'm always comparing myself to shred guitarists who can play circles around me, when my goal has never been to get good at shredding. I could probably count the number of hours I've spent practicing lead guitar in my entire life on just 2 hands. A guitar is a tool for me to make music. I'm not trying to become a phenomenal guitarist or even really a guitarist for that matter. I'm a person who sometimes plays guitar to make music. It's unrealistic of me to compare myself to people who value their guitar abilities much more than I value mine.
I happen to be training for a triathlon right now, so. Well, you know all about that.
No, actually I don't. I play real sports, not trying to be the best at exercising. Fuck this guy.
Procrastinating. Pretending to be perfecting things when you're actually just procrastinating in order to avoid the scariness of releasing your work. Don't overcook it. You're going to make it less authentic if you overwork the work. Put it into the universe and move on to the next project.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 45 minutes.
3. Not celebrating wins or giving yourself credit for your abilities and progress. This is probably the one that I'm worst about. When you pair this with frequent comparisons to people who are on another level, you'll be absolutely lost when it comes to knowing your self-worth. I need to take my own advice here and take the time to look at how far I've come since my early work, and recognize that I have actually progressed a great deal over the years. I may not be at the top, but I'm a long way from the bottom too. If you've ever read any sort of dating advice, you may have noticed that self-confidence is often cited as an attractive quality, and it's treated as if it's something that you can just switch on. Obviously, these articles were written by cocky assholes, otherwise they'd realize that confidence isn't a choice. It can be hard for someone with our type of personality to fake self-confidence, but I have found a few things that help me overcome some of its debilitating effects. All right, let's fucking go, Nad. 1, embrace yourself. Oh yeah, I was gonna do this over here. Accept who you are and realize that no one can be you better than you can. Even if you don't particularly like yourself, I get it. Your you-ness is by far your most valuable asset. Wield it like a weapon. 2, maintain perspective. Most of us don't have a self-image that aligns with reality. Some think they're better than they really are, but this isn't a huge issue because reality will eventually correct them. The problem is the legions of people who don't understand their own value. There are millions of us, not thinking we're good enough to do something that we enjoy doing. Who's the gatekeeper here? Can you point to a specific person holding you back? I can. It's you. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. I'm realizing I'm not getting any younger. I won't be able to create the art in my head forever. The best time to plant this tree was 10 years ago, but the next best time is today. Waiting to create art lessens the amount of it that I'll be able to produce in my lifetime. I could die tomorrow, and my current output will be far short of what I intended for my life. My purpose will be unfulfilled. If I don't put myself out there, I will have wasted an entire life, and I only get one. Are you feeling motivated yet? Current skills are better than future skills. Be okay with not being the best at something. The present moment is all there is. While it's good to be constantly improving, be where you are now. Otherwise, where are you? One thing that helps a bit for me, even though I don't do it nearly enough, is realizing how far I've come in building certain skills. I royally sucked at everything I'm kind of sort of good at now at one point in the past. So even though I might not be the greatest at something, I'm proud of the things that I am able to do, and I'm having a good time making music. This is what fulfills me, not the promise of what I might be able to do someday. Giving back to the universe. It helps me to realize that I'm far enough along on my journey to provide value to others at other points along their journey, and that they appreciate the help. Makes me feel all fuzzy. Remember that art doesn't require expert proficiency to be good. Thinking you're not good enough as an artist is a bit absurd when you realize that if you're truly an artist, being good enough isn't even a consideration. You simply make the best and most authentic version possible of the thing that you want to make to the best of your current ability, and it is what it is in the end. If you keep reworking the same piece, you're not creating art, you're just practicing. Finish it and move on to the next project. Repetition begets ascension. Stagnation begets frustration. I made that up. Does that sound cool? I don't know. Let me know. 8, continued investment. It helps me to continually invest in my abilities, and I'm betting my future on the skills that I've spent a lifetime developing. Understand that perfection is unattainable. Waiting for things to be perfect is a form of procrastination. Perfection is a mirage. Not only is it illusory, but it's also a moving target. Even if you think something is perfect now, will you still think it's perfect next week, next year? How do you know what you're working on now will align with your vision of perfection in 5 years? Hijack the natural self-confidence of others. Surrounding yourself with people who will champion your skills can be a good way to get around your self-confidence issues. Okay, bonus tactic. Stop giving so much of a fuck. This is way easier said than done. There are way bigger things to be afraid of than some internet trolls. There isn't going to be some magical point in time where you're suddenly immune to criticism. It's going to happen regardless, so maybe it's best to just rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. I expect people to dislike me. I expect people to hate what I do. I expect some trolls to leave some negative comments. I used to be afraid of this until I realized that it's inevitable. Now I'm like, bring it, motherfucker. If I'm making someone feel compelled to spend their precious time sharing their precious opinion about something I've created, it means I'm on the right track, so thank you. The ebb and flow of our self-confidence levels. Receiving sincere compliments from strangers can boost our confidence levels bit by bit over time, but often just one negative comment in passing can tear all of that down. Maybe we should be more careful about what type of input we let in. Maybe we should give the positive comments a bit more weight and the negative comments a little less. Bring things into somewhat of a closer balance. It's important to remember that most humans are garbage, and spouting negative comments to strangers makes them feel powerful in an otherwise powerless existence. We have no idea what they're struggling with, and they probably deal with the same fears as us.
Everybody hurts.
Even so, their opinion is irrelevant. Oftentimes, these negative comments come from inside us, and that's when they can be more difficult to ignore because it's often unspoken. We don't even realize we're saying it. It's just a feeling that's built up over the years as a result of our negative self-perception. But we already went over how your own perception of your worth is often flawed anyway. So really, this is just another irrelevant opinion. Try not to let irrelevant opinions affect you. Conclusion. None of these tips are going to magically boost your self-confidence, but they should help alleviate the negative side effects and allow you to get unstuck in some of your creative pursuits. At least that's my hope anyway. Take it easy till the next one. I do have hands. I just don't know what to do with them when I'm talking. So, I do have a thing for my teleprompter though. Boost girl, yeah! Oh, fucking hey! Alright. Cut.